Wish you all a good morning here. I also would like to welcome you to the first public demonstration of the pre-designed machine and prototype of Mr. Newman's energy machine, which will be intended for commercial utilization. The format today is we will have some initial brief remarks by Joseph Newman, and then the people that are here speaking in his behalf will each give a short presentation. Following that, we will have a formal presentation by Mr. Newman, and I would like at that time, after his presentation, to open up the question and answer period only to members of the news media at that time, if they would wish to ask questions. Following that question and answer period, which will keep fairly brief, we will then demonstrate the machine, and if there is still time available after that, we may again open it up to additional question and answers. So at this time, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to turn it over to you, to a man who needs no introduction, Joseph Newman.
Pre-production unit, meaning that there is no more experimentation to go forward. Prior to this time, I've always said the major problem was that it produced too much energy. Not that it didn't produce enough energy and it would destroy the commutator segment. Now I have totally solved that problem. This unit will go forward in a pre-production unit and will go across this world as a whirlwind and will do tremendous benefits across the entire world and for the people of this world. I appreciate y'all being here. I have a lot of caring people that came a long way because they care. They're not here for any reason other than they care deeply about this invention going forward. And when you see these people speak, you'll see them speak from their heart, not just their mind. And they deserve your respect because they cared enough to speak out when most other people were petrified in the technical field to do so. First person to be up is Dr. Roger Hastings, the senior physicist from Sperry Univac. He's not speaking for Sperry Univac. He's speaking for himself as a concerned scientist. He's one of the first people who came down, got behind me. He first came down. He didn't believe it would work. Told me so. He said, Joe, I think you are an honest person. I think you made an honest mistake. And he'll come down, I'm going to find it, and I'm going to tell you about it. I said, fine. You come down and show me I'm wrong. I said, you'll teach me something. I'll take that information and use it. So let me turn it around on you. You come down and I show you that I'm correct. We have the courage to speak out on my behalf. He did exactly that, and he's still doing it. I owe him respect. I owe everyone here, the team that's listening, great respect. They deserve your respect. Please listen to him very attentively. Dr. Roger Hastings will speak first, and then he'll introduce the next person. Thank you.
The importance of Joe Newman, of Joe Newman's theories and his motor is really evidenced by the size of this crowd here today. I first came down and visited Joe about 5 years ago, and at that time he had a machine that weighed about 5,000 pounds and it put out about 3 watts of power. And the interesting thing about that motor is that it only took in about 1.5 watts of power. So even though it was something on a very, very small scale for a very, very large machine, it was interesting. The problem and the question at that time was, can this be scaled up? In principle, there's something there that could change the world, change our lives, but can it be made to run a home, a car, and so on? As the years went by, every time it came down, Joe had improved the machine. It went 10 watts, Eventually it went to 100 watts for that big 5,000-pound machine. The problem the main problem that Joe had was in switching the high voltage, or the voltage, to the machine. From the data that we took, it looked like the output energy was proportional to the square of the applied voltage, while the input energy was just going up linearly with the voltage. As Joe got up to voltages like 200 and 300 volts, the switching mechanism would just be destroyed by the machine. And so, at that point, there was some question as to whether it would become a useful device. But within the last couple of months, Joe has come up with another invention which solves this problem of switching high voltages. And in this machine now, where we started with a 5,000-pound unit that put out 3 watts, we now have a 150-pound machine that's putting out a couple hundred watts. So, with that problem solved, it looks very much like in the very near future, a machine that will put out enough energy to run a home will be possible. And that's where Joe is headed, and that's where we're all headed, hopefully. Thank you.
I've had the really fantastic opportunity to work with Joe Newman on his energy system over the past several years. I've seen it progress from early designs to the device that you see here behind me. A unit which, with some relatively minor design changes, can be put into production within a relatively short period of time. That means built and sold to the consumer. I'm sure most of you have seen all the TV reports about Joe and seen the big machine which he demonstrated in Washington. Well, this small compact unit here produces several times the energy output of the big machine while using only a fraction of the power the large machine required to keep the process going. This means that the unit is much more efficient than the first design. And this is only the second generation unit. Just think of the improvements that can be made in future designs. Smaller, lighter, more power output, more useful. Now, a little audience participation. Let me ask you, how many of you here think that Joe Newman is wrong, his invention can't work, his theory is a bunch of horse feathers? Okay. Now, how many of you think that Joe Newman just might be correct, might have the greatest thing since sliced bread, which aren't quite sure? Maybe like a little more proof. Skepticism is good. It helps prevent mistakes and prevents, anybody from pulling the wool over anybody's eyes. That's good. Now, how many of you think that Joe's right, this thing works, and it will change the world? Well, let me tell you that as I worked with Joe, I went from really critical skepticism initially to believing Joe and his theory. He wants to ensure that his invention will benefit all mankind. That's why he wrote his book and published it even before he has his patent. As Joe says, the invention of theory is just too important to the future of the whole world to stay locked up in one man's mind. So that's why he did write the book. By the way, if you've read his book, you probably realize that the invention, even though it is very important, is only one aspect of his theory. In fact, the theory is so much more important than the invention because Joe explains things in a way that's truly new and unique. This new explanation has already started lots of people thinking about the world and the universe in a totally different way. His continuing dispute with the patent office has diverted far too much of his time, money, and energy from developing this invention. So if you believe in this man and what he's trying to accomplish, let your elected representatives in Washington know how you feel. You can be darn sure that any forces that oppose this invention will be putting on the pressure in Washington against him. You're the only ones that can help it. The device that you see here on this platform may look a bit like some far-out Star Trek transport. And perhaps it is a bit of a transporting device, or better yet, a door to the future, the new future which can be opened by the application of the energy machine of Joseph Wesley Newman. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Arnold Smith. I'm a consulting New Orleans area. I first met Joe Newman about 2 years ago when he came to speak at Tulane University. Subsequent to that time, I have been involved in a limited way with technical observations of Joe Newman's machine. As a structural engineer, unfortunately, I don't have the technical expertise such as the previous two speakers have to accurately evaluate for my own mind the technical lightness of it. However, I have listened to the comments and the observations of men such as the two that have preceded me. And I'm totally convinced, based on their observations, based on my own observations, that Joe Newman's machine does exactly what he says it does. During the time that I've known Joe, he has consistently acted in the only way possible for a great innovator. And that is, he's always acted with the highest degree of integrity. I just wish the patent owner would see it that way, too. At the early part of this century, the Wright brothers' first airplane flew. I think the flight was something less than 30 seconds, and it was an ungainly, awkward-looking machine. The machine that we see here today is also awkward, and it's also ungainly, and it's also the prototype that has the potential, and as far as I'm concerned, will change the future of the world even greater than that first flying machine did. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. My name is Sam Talfero, and I own a manufacturing firm in Atlanta that manufactures magnetic separation equipment and all types of magnetic devices. And I came here yesterday strictly to be an observer to this, but also to express my appreciation to Mr. Newman for his theory, because truly I think that is where the real key to all issues of life is lying. And through his opening of my eyes, I have been able to advance further in our product development. And I urge other businessmen and the scientific community to open up and look at this very carefully because of its advancements for mankind. As far as the machine, I'm very, very impressed, and I think we only can now barely feel what is going to happen to mankind because it has tremendous possibilities. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm William Harrison, Assistant Professor of Engineering Fundamentals at Virginia Tech, Geisler Institute. I have only a few comments. My personal point of view is that Mr. Newman has invented and developed entirely new and unique motor technology. A technology not in existence and, in fact, totally unknown such as recently. Measurements that have been made, tests that have been performed, analyses that have been carried out clearly show that his engines are capable of efficiencies well over 100%, in fact even exceeding 1,000%. To me, one of the most fascinating aspects of Mr. Newman's work is that he developed his theoretical concepts before building any hardware to prove them out. So many inventions with which we are already familiar began as experiments with hardware, utilizing very little theory, if any at all, such as the steam engine, internal combustion automobile, the aeroplane, Faraday's generator, and Howard Johnson's permanent magnet motor, mentioned only a few. Theory and mathematical modeling came after the fact, not before. As we often indicate to college students taking courses in science and engineering, the theory to be acceptable must match the experimental result. Of course, we can also find some converse examples, such as the atomic bomb, the laser, the Josephson junction, where the theory actually occurred first, and hardware followed. On balance, though, this approach has yielded fewer landmark inventions than the experimental path. However, with the rapid advances in technology, computers, and more bright and innovative minds than ever before, these numbers are changing. In that regard, I also believe that Mr. Newman, as well as Howard Johnson, I might add, stand out as shining examples of our modern-day innovators in a world of ever-increasing technology in all areas. I really think that the U.S. Patent Office moved to a higher level of consideration and understanding for inventors in 1979 when it granted the permanent magnet motor patent to Howard Johnson. I would hope that this enlightenment from the point of view of the Patent Office would continue, resulting in this case with the granting of a patent to Mr. Newman. Certainly, if we ever needed such enlightenment, now is the time. Now, next speaker is Mr. Everett.
Good morning and welcome. I'm Milton Everett. I'm an engineer. I'm employed by the state of Mississippi. I, like Roger, was a skeptic. I thought I could shoot Joe down on the telephone. I didn't even bother to go down there. When I couldn't shoot him down on the telephone, I went down there, and after about 3 visits, I was convinced. He has done this not for himself, and he is not motivated by money. He is motivated by you and I. He's doing this for us. And this machine he has here is a great leap forward from the original prototype that were even more crude and more barbaric than this. And he needs our help. He needs your help. Please help him. He's doing this for us.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Edward Chow. I'm from Canada, Vancouver, BC, which is about 3,000 miles from here. I guess I'm the person that father played on your big city here. But anyway, the reason I'm here today is that I was impressed by Mr. Joe Newman's invention. And I have spoken to Mr. Joe Newman several times on the phone, and I have read his book thoroughly. And I got totally confused at the beginning. And after some study and other research, I have come to the conclusion that his invention was very credible. And I, as a background of professional engineer and consultant engineer in environmental and energy research, and I think now that I have a complete belief in the Newman machine. From what I have seen and what I have been able to read from his research and other people report on his machine, I'm totally convinced that this machine should work. Now, the reason I'm here is that I represent a group of investment people from Canada. Even though Vancouver, BC is a small place compared to the great New Orleans here, we still have people that need this machine. And I'm here to tell you that we hope that in the near future we can make some arrangement with Mr. Newman to have this machine production in Canada to benefit the people up there and spread this gospel. And I do believe that Mr. Newman will be benefited from our connection because there is a World Fair being held in Vancouver, BC in the coming year, Expo 86. The main theme is the world in motion. Now, this machine of Mr. Newman is more than world in motion. I think it's a universe in motion. And I think that's fitting very well with our scheme of this Expo 86, which we'll be having from next year, May to October. And I truly believe that we will be able to help Mr. Newman up there to get his patent proceeded more quickly and more effectively, so he can continue to manufacture the machine, and we'll be able to help him in any way we can to put the machine in the marketplace. And I think Mr. Newman told me that he hoped to be able to get some machine out by Christmas time. I think that would be a tremendous gift to mankind and to everybody in this world. And I don't want to have too much of your time, and I want to thank you all for being here, and I thank Mr. Newman for able to give me this privilege to speak to him and your audience here. Thank you.
My name is Bobby Mathern. I'm from Metairie. My background is physics. I work for Louisiana Power and Light, and I like to say that I'm representing myself here today. I've been working with Mr. Newman now over the past 3 years, and I have two questions that constantly come up. So I'm going to ask them as if they were coming from the audience. The two questions are, why not before now? Why not? Why wasn't this invented before? We've been building machines, electromagnetic motors now for over 100 years. Why not before now? And the other question is, how big can it be built? So think about the second one while I answer the first. Why not before now? Well, 100 years ago, when Faraday and Maxwell got together, Faraday did the experiment, Maxwell did the theory, Einstein hadn't been invented yet. Think about that. They built the theory, the equations from which we've designed all the motors since then on the law of conservation of energy. It needs to be updated. It has to be the law of conservation of mass and energy. We're not creating energy out of nothing. We're creating it out of matter, out of mass. E equals mc squared. You've heard that? This man has tapped that and is now producing electricity directly out of matter. It's sort of like we've been systematically avoiding building motors that does what Mr. Newman does because of the sparking, because of the problems that it causes. It's sort of like we've been living on the side of this fastly moving river, and it's been sort of a nuisance, and we continue building bridges over it. You know what that's like. And Mr. Newman says, why don't we put a paddle wheel into it and tap some of that energy of that magnetic field? And that's what he's done here. You'll see when he operates it. Number two, how big can it be built? The more interesting question to me is how small can it be built? You know how much electricity is radiated from all those power lines going around? If you can build it small enough, every appliance you will buy in the next 20 years will have its own source of energy inside of it. You don't get your house wired for electricity. You bring the appliances and they have their own power pack inside based on Mr. Newman's theory. Think about that. Thank you.
Can't do it.
All I can really say is I've seen the machine 3 or 4 times in the last 3 years. Each time I've tested it, it has more energy out than in. Looks like a casual mistake. Do you realize the significance of it? Do you realize that man can fly? Everybody knows that. In 1903 they did. A handful, 2 or 3 or 4 thought. 2 men knew about it. The others didn't really believe it. They didn't know what it was. 23 seconds. Even 10 years later, people saw it fly over. The Whopper taken care of. Newman has a device that produces more energy. That's an enormous significance. It's even a bigger breakthrough than flying. As It's not surprising that he hasn't received a patent, because the patent office traditionally does not treat innovators correctly. They have always given them a hard time. The Wright brothers did not get their patent without enormous trouble, and the wrong people got the patent in that case. Alexander Graham Bell got a patent for the telephone, and other people invented it. Thomas More got a patent for the telegraph, and other people invented that. Newman is just another one of innovators who's being given a raw deal of life. I expect that to continue because that's what happens. You have an opportunity to change that, and I ask for your support. Thank you.
Thank all the technical people that have spoken out here for me. It's not for me, it's for you that they speak. I'm sure you realize they speak from their heart, not just their mind. It's for you that they're speaking. Mr. Eddie Albert came all the way from California down here because he's a very caring individual. I've heard a rumor that some people think he's been paid. It's totally untrue. I don't pay anybody. I don't say anything relative to my work. I wouldn't do so. But he came because he's a caring human being, and if y'all seen him on TV, not just on Green Acres, which you should be respected for, he's a very good actor. You've seen him do very good endorsements of credible things relative to the environment, and et cetera, treating with people, because he's a caring human being. He's here for that reason. So please respect what he has to say. Thank you.
Thank you for the kind words. I didn't know that would come up, and it occurred to me. When I was leaving the house yesterday, I said to my daughter Maria, who handles my things, she says, I should get an airplane plane out of here sometime in the middle of the day. I want to go to New Orleans. And she says, where are you going? I said, well, I'm going down to look at something down here in the John Newman. The other thing that I'd like to know about. And she said, well, is he paying for it? I said, no. She said, well, why are you paying for it? You're going down there? And I said, look, honey, I'm part of the earth here, and I've been very lucky as an actor. I've made good money, and I've had a fine career. I owe a lot to somebody up there that touted me along and kept me in line. And so here I am, but I'm not interested in Joe Newman's machine. I'm not a physicist, a scientist, or a chemist. I don't even understand it. But I understand when I listen to these other scientists who really know their trade, that it has the potentials in the fields that I'm interested in. And now that I'm over 40, I feel very responsible to pay that back some way, and which I have been trying to do the best I can, running back and forth from Africa to hunger, Asia, and South America, fighting for the farmer here that I think has been in this country as badly treated as Stalin treated his people in Russia. By the American public, it's a crime. This is all related now to Joe Newman. I was not going off on a personal tangent. Right now, for example, we've been here about a half an hour. There are now, I don't mean to be gloomy, but right now there are about 1,500 children dead right now who are alive when we came into this room, dead of hunger. This goes on all day long, every week, all year long, and it's growing. This is not a good way for the human race to behave. The problems are, this is not to blame anyone particularly, the villains there aren't any. We're all human and we like to see it the way we do the best we can, which is not always great, but we stumble along. And 1,000 farmers a week going down the drain here because the prices are being depressed, sometimes deliberately and sometimes merely I'd like to buy low and sell high, which we can understand. Yesterday, the price for farmers was, grain price was 49% of the rest of the economy, which means you're getting 49% of your costs back. Therefore, you've got to borrow this year 51% to start next year. And you have to sign away your farm. Brazil didn't have to sign away anything. Argentina didn't sign. Mexico, they got it free. But the farmer, they're out to get your land. Here we've got the opportunity for free energy coming out. This is what I'm beginning to see, because now we've got water problems, we've got soil erosion problems, we've got hunger problems, we've got polluted air. We've got, in California, for example, we've got 42,000 acres of very good farmland, #1 prime, that's going down the drain because of selenium. And they haven't even looked at it for cadmium or mercury or lead. And all of this has to be cleaned out. And it can only be cleaned out by energy. So this is what I'm here to talk about, or with Joe, to keep my... I'm here really to learn. Find out what's truly going, what kind of a chance it has, this has to go. Because I was talking not long ago to the board chairman of Mitsubishi in France. Don't tell my daughter. And he said while he laid out his plan, we're going to reforest the Sahara Desert. Well, if he hadn't been one of the fellows that rebuilt Japan, I would have said, yeah, good luck. I got to leave. I got another nut. But he said, no, we're going to also the Gobi Desert in China. What is happening now with the population explosion? We have got to employ huge groups of people. We've got to support the farm, the agriculture. We've got to support all this. And the only way we can do it is great employment. And now he's talking, well, now we're back to energy. We're back to energy. And from energy we go into, when I start talking about the farm, we're talking really, oh, by the way, before I forget, I want to thank all these young people behind me here that gave us a great hope for all of us when the, thank you. Great hope for all of us when the younger people take an interest in this kind of an effort. And I was really moved to see them here, very pleased. Now, going back to agriculture, and what built America and democracy, which is what Joe is working on, it was always the inventions. We came over here a couple of 100 years ago, and the thing that made America and made democracy possible, full of bellies and so forth, to start with, it's the moldboard plow, an invention. And then there was Eli Whitney's cotton gin. That did a great deal for agriculture. And McCormick's reaper. All it was an invention, a mechanical invention, some sort of a development that moved us ahead a little bit and allowed us a little more time to help each other, to pray a little bit from time to time, and to make something to feed people's bellies and be fair, be just, democratic. And that's what made America. And now we've got another step forward. As I see it, as far as I can determine, in my small way, that we've got a nice chance to move ahead. We've got to fight. It's not easy. We pointed out the difficulties that these people have always had. All they need is our help. He's done his work. Let's get on with it now. I was pleased to say that one of the gentlemen said that he was talking of going into housing, which is a kind of a going around the patent situation, giving him another alternative, an option, which he apparently is about to take. It's my impression from talking to these people, there's a great deal to be said about education. There was a great German philosopher years ago on his deathbed, he said, light, give me more light. We were talking of education. But about 100 years later, a Spanish philosopher said, wait a minute, this guy was wrong. He should not have said more light, more education. What he should have said was warmth, more warmth. We die of the cold, not of the dark. It's the frost that kills. And this is what I get get from Joe and the people around him that are talking, and I get from all of you here, we've got to work together to keep our integrity, our credibility, and pull this nation back where it really was once. The great American public, the great American nation. Thank you so much.
Again, putting all these clever people who came here, nobody has been paid. I paid some of the expenses, but that's only right that I do so. I wouldn't pay a dime to get anybody to say anything to me. What I speak is the truth. Doesn't need to be paid for. Been having a fight with the patent office. I'm sure all y'all know it. My guy said I'll fight until hell freezes over. I mean literally that. I'm not just fighting for me. You always fight harder if you're fighting for somebody else. There's many creative people that maybe they don't have my fighting personality. If you let that person work hard, send something to some examiner at the patent office, the guy reads the title on it, or it could be a woman, reads the title on it, says this Mac is something ridiculous, but it's not my book. Writes that across the patent application, sends it back to that applicant. Breaks the spirit. The person who suffers is not that individual, but the human race. The patent office has one position, that's to stimulate creativity by which the inhabitants of this nation benefit therefrom. It has acted totally as an adversary toward this invention, and even gone so far as to perjure itself. Had a gentleman at NASA falsify a statement saying he believed his invention was less than 100% efficient, when he had told him he believed it was 600% efficient. Now I say that not because that I say it. The man called my attorney, told him, then wrote another affidavit stating that he had told the patent office that, and that he believed his invention was possibly 600% efficient. A federal judge who I had gone to try to get justice said he had no technical ability, he needed to hire him a master. I said, no, just count through witnesses. I've got better than 30 people who tested my invention. The patent office had zilch. They also said they had no ability to test the invention. That I should depend, the patent office must depend upon the applicant's affidavits of operability, which I did in good faith. Then they said that myself, all these other competent people, and other people didn't know how to run the test equipment, or either we had falsified it. The judge said he wanted a master in spite of the fact that I had better than 30 scientists and people who had tested it. And he told me to nominate 3 people, told the patent office to nominate 3 people. I nominated 2 PhDs I had never met. I had talked with them on the phone to see if they'd be interested in being the master. I hereby nominated any person who had tested it that the patent office would say they're biased and prejudiced, so I didn't do so. The judge said he wouldn't accept the people I nominated. The patent office nominated 3 people, 2 of which worked at the U.S. Patent Office. The third had been a former commissioner of patents from 1979 to 1981, Mr. William Schuyler. You would say that he's possibly biased and prejudiced. But I had the opportunity to meet that gentleman back in 1975. I had looked in his eyes, talked with him, and I had believed him to be an honest man. And I had told my attorney I would take a gamble on him. We accepted him. Within a week's time, he stated back to the court that the evidence before this court, the U.S. Patent Office, is overwhelming. That the energy output of this system is greater than externally input into the system, and that there's no contradictory factual evidence. He stated the position taken by the Board of Appeals of the Patent Office, where that they said such an invention was impossible, was clearly erroneous, and that they were overruled. The Patent Office then replied by implying that this master that they had nominated, who the judge who had chose, saying his credentials were superb whenever he chose him, they replied implying he had no common sense and believed in the tooth fairy. The federal judge, then proceeded to say that he would not accept that master's findings, which he then charged me $11,506.20, something like that, for this master, who he said he must have because he had no technical expertise. Now, the fact he didn't accept that master's findings is totally against the law. The federal law states that if a federal judge hires a master and absence of the jury, he will accept that master's findings unless it's clearly erroneous. So I'm still fighting this battle, and again I'll fight until hell freezes over, because my intent is not just to win this battle. I wish to change the law so that other people will not have to fight this injustice that I have had to fight. With that, I'd like to make a statement that I've been asked to make, And again, I think that we all owe respect for a particular Congressman, Mr. Dan Burton from Indiana, who cares enough that he, on this very day, he's introducing a special bill to Congress. That Congress issued Joseph Newman a pioneering invention, because it's his belief, his honest belief, after digging into the facts, that the U.S. Patent Office has not followed the dictates of the law, and that I'm not receiving justice. They understand the magnitude that this goes way beyond justice, Joe Newman, and hopefully it will cause the law to change. What I ask y'all to do is to write your senators, congressmen, wire them, asking very strongly that they get behind Congressman Dan Burton from Indiana on this bill, because it's not just justice to Joe Newman. It's justice to the people of this country, that and the future generations to come, these young people behind me, that their life will be stimulated, not stifled, not intimidated. That is not the purpose of the U.S. Patent Office. It has only one purpose: to stimulate creativity by which the inhabitants of this nation benefit therefrom. They've acted totally as an adversary. I spit upon the injustice that I have seen relative to that invention. The people who founded this country would feel exactly the same way. And I don't fight just for myself. You'll always fight harder. Anybody that loves anybody, you'll fight harder for people that you care about. What I'm fighting for is you. And all of these people, the young people, yet to be born. So if you care, I ask y'all to show that you care. Now, the impact of this invention is something I've worked on 20 years now, over 2 decades. I wrote to President Johnson in 1967, saying I'd never be satisfied with myself. So I put forth an invention that would do this, and that I would put forth a merger between mechanization and economics. That I've lived my life, so I have done that. The technical process that I have will touch many doors of science that have been closed prior to this time will now be open. The young people sitting behind me, hopefully, that they will not be taught in such a way that their minds are restricted, that they are taught to be robust in just learning the way that I hope to change the teaching system, because that I care about humanity. All these young people, not very long ago, had a very creative mind, hopefully they still do. They questioned everything and anything. But the teaching system, what's ironic about it, is done in good faith. And even if you, the parents, contribute to it. You tell your children, make an A, we love you. Grandma loves you. Grandpa loves you. Don't make a passing grade now. You're not going to be successful. Child is very receptive. It learns quick. None of this game is memorization. Gets it from the teacher. So what it does, it forsakes its natural birthright of curiosity. What I'm saying is you still teach children as many things as you can. But most of all, you teach them to question, to challenge. Not to question simply to be disruptive, but to question, to stimulate, to construct, to go past the brilliant people that have came before them. And if they ask the question, and it cannot be answered by the teacher, then encourage them that on their own, they go ahead, try to come up with a very satisfactory explanation. And if they do that, the odds are they will contribute to society. But what you're teaching that child is that the main thing is their natural curiosity that they're born with. The problem I run into with the scientific community is not a scientific problem. It's a psychological problem, because people feel intimidated by this knowledge when they first hear of it. But the impact of this is something that I care deeply about. I care about the teaching system. I care about how these young people are going to be when they grow up, and what they're going to have to offer to their children and their children and their children. The teaching system must change. Now, the impact of this invention is such that there won't be any more Ethiopians. There won't be any more pollution. This invention will do more toward bringing world peace than all the kings and queens and politicians who've ever lived. If you give people all the material things that they need, so that the children are not hungry, you don't see starvation in their eyes, pity within their eyes, those people don't want fight. What they want is the same thing that all of y'all want for your families. They want love, caring, and attitude. This invention will offer that, because it will take the drudgery out of life. I have no doubt in 20 years, space travel will be as commonplace as getting on a plane and flying from one city to another city. There will be no pollution. The work hour week will probably be something like 1 hour per week. Things will become mechanized. But the economic condition of the world will change in the most beneficial way. Now, most people say, Joe, you're talking about you. Something that can't happen. People would be worthless. I say totally false. Totally false. The proof of it lies in your own young children. If you look at any child below 5 years old, you'll see one of the busiest persons you'll see in your life. They're active. They're consistently asking questions. And they don't do it because of money or anything else. They do it because of they're curious. They wish to use their mind. Now, you take a young child and you then stimulate that. What you will have as an adult, that has been amplified even, that person would never sit down and do nothing. It has no desire. It'd be miserable to sit down and do nothing. Same as you see in your young children. And I know what I speak is the truth because I can see it in our young people. The teaching system makes that dormant. And so it allows people to sit around and do nothing because it kills that natural birthright. What I'll do now is run a demonstration on this invention. Now what this is a pre-production unit. It will clearly demonstrate and add to these technical people that this invention can go forward immediately. That within, any competent company, easily within 60 days, more like 30 days, to build a production unit, run a home, because there is no more research to be done on it. The problems have been solved. And I will go ahead and do this myself. In the meantime, there's other competent companies that are getting interested in this. I'm sure there will be more. So this invention will come forward very quickly. And what this is, it's my Christmas gift to the people of the world. That I want them to know that this technology is now. Not 20 years from now, not 10 years from now, but now. Even though they may not have a very good Christmas this Christmas, they'll have a twinkle in their eye because they'll know that this is going to change. With that, if I can get some of the news people to kind of turn out their lights, then I'll lower some of these other lights and we'll turn this on and you can kind of get a better impact of what this is doing. You'll see some blinking lights going on. Now this will all be taken out.
I also wanted to add two short announcements. We have blue press kits available up here for members of the press. So before they leave, they might want to get one. Also, we've been informed by the hotel that there are approximately as many people in this room out in the hallway right now. So, to be fair to them, as soon as this formal demonstration is over and any questions that Mr. Newman would like to do be asked at that point, we would like if you all could please leave the room as soon as possible to allow them to come in and at least take a look at it. Thank you.
Putting energy into this coil. The hydraulic compressor aligns these atoms and it will produce more energy out than is put into it. This meter is showing 10 milliamps. You can spit 10 milliamps going into this system. Now it's got high voltage, 2,500 volts. The current coming out of this system is averaging 115 milliamps. If you square that and multiply it times the resistance of this coil, the loss in that coil is greater than the power inputted in this system. The magnet itself has one wire leading from that magnet to this gyro power, which then leads to ground. The magnet is totally insulated away from the coil or any electricity into it. The lights at the top are hooked across this coil and parallel with it. And as you see this unit pivot back and forth and the sparking takes place, every time that happens, it runs current through those lights, which then runs back into the coil. These four bulbs running around the system has one wire hooked to one lead of the battery and going to ground. You can take any battery pack you want to, hook these bulbs to it, hook one wire to that battery and the ground, they will not light. This energy that you see going through here is all coming from this coil. The major problem prior to this time was I could never get 2,500 volts. I couldn't even get over 1,000 volts. The sparking would get so great it would destroy the commutator. It would totally shatter the ceramic or pyrex glass. Now this problem is solved. I could design this unit, I could put 1,000,000 volts. Not that I would. It'd shoot this thing to the moon. But it's the hydraulic pressure, which is voltage, that I'm interested in. It causes these atoms to align and disalign. And as it does occur, you're then utilizing this energy on 100% conversion of E equals MC squared. From that point on, we'll now turn this off and we'll let the news media ask any question they'd like to ask.
Questions that they'd like to ask this time?
You're asking the question, how does the machine work? Okay, you're putting energy into the machine. Now, the voltage, which I call hydraulic pressure. I use the word hydraulic pressure because I want the listener to mechanically relate to what's happening. The word voltage doesn't register in anybody's mind. It's just a word. I wish to use the word of what occurs. The hydraulic pressure causes these atoms to align and disalign. Every time they align, they release energy in the form of an electromagnetic field. That energy consists of gyroscopic particles. Excuse me. That move at the speed of light and spin at light. Speed of light. You're not creating anything. I've never implied that you create anything. In fact, I started on this invention because I so strongly believe you don't just get something from absolutely nothing. It always comes from something. And when I was told in a book that you can move a conductor very slowly in a magnetic field and it would take off the speed of light, my common sense told me not true. Something was already going at the speed of light and you were simply deflecting it. It took me over 15 years to figure out the things that I had figured out. But this invention works very simply that you put energy in, the atoms align and disalign, and that's the key to it. As that occurs, you will get more energy from this system, and the energy comes from this coil. Now, if you just look at this coil, what the prior art says, this coil has nothing to do with what goes on here. Now, do you believe that? 130 pounds of atoms has nothing to do with what goes on here? If it's true, why can't I take a piece of wire an inch long and get the same result? I can put a lot of current through it. That's what they teach. It's the current. Not true. It's the atoms. If I have a little wire this long, I've got a very minute number of atoms. I take 130 pounds of atoms, you expect more energy. You get that energy. But it has no polluted environment or the human race. I hope it answers your question.
Any other questions?
Mr. Newman, Joe
Yes.
You mentioned in an interview earlier with me that you had discovered the grand unified theory of force.
Yes.
Can you tell us what the force is and comment on that, please? The grand unified theory of force.
Yeah. The question that was asked was, did I believe that I had put forth a grand unified theory of force? Now, my answer is yes. Came up with a theory mechanically explaining gravity, electricity, magnetism, inertia, planetary motion, and a new source of energy long before I applied for the patent on this invention. It was only after I had done so that I applied for the patent. And then as a result of my attorney, Dennis Pugh, who's here in the audience, from New Orleans, told me, he said, Joe, said, nobody's going to believe you unless you build one of these devices. I built it. They did exactly what I thought. When Dr. Hastings came down, that amazed him very much. It made him have faith in it, which shows you the good science, because that is the scientific method. Let the facts prove or disprove the theory. It did exactly that. What I teach is that the energy that's in a magnetic field is the basic building block of all matter. Of all matter. Us, you, everything. Everything in the universe consists of that same gyroscopic particle. Not two particles, one particle. And it appears to an outside observer as being two particles. That's where the word negative and positive comes from. But it's not. It's one particle. It's only relative to the outside observer who looks at that result that sees it as two different entities. You can do the same thing if I took a gyroscope and had you spin it up and you've never seen one before and had you pivoted it and you held it out in front of you. If it went away from you, you might say, well, I'm going to call that negative. It took the pivotage away from you. Then I say, well, close your eyes. close your eyes, and then I spin it the opposite direction. Now you push down on it, and it comes towards you. You say, well, I'm going to call that positive. It came toward me. And you would claim I had changed those devices because you saw them do different things. But it's the same energy. It's just to the outside observer, relative to its gyroscopic spin, it causes the observed result. But this teaching is a technical process. I consider the technical process 10,000 times more important than I do this mere prototype, the mere invention. It's a technical process that will open many doors of science and cause this to come about medicine, physics, chemistry, astronomy, geology. It all is relative to the same energy within this magnetic field. It's all one and the same. It can all be understood. It can all be anticipated. I'm talking about tremendous changes. Some people that are behind me, even in the book that I have written, I speak to the young people. It's hard to teach old dogs new tricks. I'm an old dog. So are a lot of people in here. Hard to teach us new tricks. But we can teach it to our young. And it's saying that this invention is for. But they're young, yet to be born. And you're talking about exciting times. Things that we today find hard to imagine. 20 years from now, when young people have been taught the way that I say they should be taught, they'll look back on these as the dark ages. They feel sympathy for their parents because they're going to say they were taught in such a way that they were robbed of the natural curiosity, where we have been taught in such a way that our natural curiosity is stimulated, and they'll find that exciting, and they will feel sorry for the fact that we have had such a dull life. So we're talking about great changes. I'll take some other questions, please. Yes. It's the same. Okay, the question was that the federal judge last week had ordered me again to turn it over to the National Bureau of Standards. And why am I refusing to do so again? And the reason is because I'm fighting for the people yet to follow me to turn it over to the patent office. What they wanted to do was have the right to destroy this invention. In fact, they had even asked the judge to charge me $50,000 for the right to do this. And the judge denied that. But to do so implies that I'm saying it's okay for you to do this to someone else. It's okay that you put them through this type of rigor and running around. And I would allow some testing if it was credible testing, that if I saw some good faith, and even my attorney in Washington, who's a litigator, who has been handling the litigation in the federal court, had contacted the patent office and the National Bureau of Standards to see if they would meet any type of requirements that was legitimate. Like if I myself and Dr. Hastings and other credible people was attending the discovery that was being made, no. They don't want nobody there. Question, why? If I have something to fear, then it should be I who would want no notice brought to it. To the contrary, I'm here because I won't notice brought to it. I publish a book because I won't notice brought to it. I have nothing to hide. The patent office is consistently, deliberately, acting to hide something. The National Bureau of Standards, the people they wish me to send it to, I went to them several years ago. Dr. Hastings took off from work and went with me. They were saying that they would test this device. Got there to them, they said they couldn't test it. Then told us to go to a college 1,000 miles away. That was on their only suggestion. Now, for me to endorse any of that, then it implies it's okay to do it to someone else. And I'm saying, no, it's wrong. Congressman Dan Burton is saying, no, that's wrong. It's not wrong just for Joe Newman. I'm a fighter. Hell, I fight this to hell freezing over 100 times. But I care deeply for other people who can't fight or just don't have the aptitude to fight. It's hard to explain that unless you feel it yourself. If you feel it yourself, you know what I'm talking about. Some other question, please.
Yeah, back here.
Wait, we have a question here.
Okay. No, the question was, are any American inventors or companies interested in this invention? Are they waiting to see if you're getting a patent? Many are waiting to see if I'm getting a patent. But already several competent business people Mr. Dan Benvenuti, who is here, has invested a substantial amount of money. He's from Sacramento, California. We're getting other companies, American companies, that are also inquiring about this invention as to license agreements. Hopefully after this, there will be even more competent companies coming forward. They want to get involved. Yes? The question was, have I considered getting a foreign patent? Because if the U.S. Patent Office has stated that they would recognize all foreign patents. Okay, we have patents applied for in most of the major foreign countries. The patent has been issued in South Africa and in Spain. But the Patent Office still fights rigidly, and they won't recognize it if they disagree with it. They disagree with it based on saying I've got a perpetual motion machine. I have never said that. I have never implied that. For them to state that shows that they have deliberately and intentionally tried to falsify the record, to make statements that are totally untrue. The master told the Patent Office. Joe Newman has never said perpetual motion. The master who they appointed told them that. But the Patent Office consistent has acted in a very arbitrary manner. Very easily. It's just, yeah, I'm sorry. The question was, how easily could this invention be adapted to the automobile? The answer is, very easily. You can adapt it to any device that uses any type of source of energy very quickly. If the people in that particular field, say a man who wanted to produce an automobile, said, I want that invention in this vehicle. If they're technical people, put their technical expertise behind it, I have no doubt it can be done very quickly.
Question in the back. Mr. Newman, you have to shout up. Yeah, you have asked the people in the audience here to write their senators on Senator Burke's Congress before this bill. Do you know the number of the bill that would assist in getting it more attention?
No, I don't. You can contact, I've got Congressman Dan Burke's phone number. Let me get that and give it. At the time, the bill number, I don't believe, had been assigned. They called me just before I left Lucedale and told me to state this. The phone number and person to talk with is Mr. Kevin Whitehead, area code 202-225-2276. Anyone else can ask their senator, the congressman, to call that number and ask for any inquiry on it. But probably by the time that's done, it will be a bill because it's either been done today or either immediately thereafter. The number again is area code 202-225-2276. The gentleman's name to speak with is the aide is Mr. Kevin Whitehead, Whitehead.
Why have the energy magnetic of particles or electromagnetic today? Why have the of energy shown up in subatomic physics? We have this huge atom smashing it, gluons, mesons, and all these particles, smashed atoms. Yet this energy has never shown up in these equations. They account for all the energy, all the matter that's never distributed in atoms. Why hasn't it shown up before in the equations?
No, you're totally wrong. The demonstration that you're talking about proves exactly what this energy is. And the cyclotrons and et cetera that you're discussing, they use tremendous magnetic fields. And the analogy of all the gluons and stick-ons and mesons and other names that they're given these particles when they take an electron and accelerate close to the speed of light, they use the analogy. It's like clown pouring out of an automobile, showing clearly they don't understand where this energy comes from. It was not anticipated. And I'm saying where it comes from, that when you get close to the speed of light, that electron then starts intermingling with the gyroscopic particles, moving into the phenomenal electromagnetic fields that are produced. And I find it ridiculous that the scientific community is so biased and prejudiced that they're going to build cyclotrons with phenomenal magnetic fields that's going to accelerate electrons close to the speed of light, and yet it has nothing to do with it. It's no real entity. To me, that's a height of stupidity.
But all these little pieces have matter. They are still matter. They have energy, kinetic energy. But the actual motion, the electricity is only motion of the matter.
No, you're totally wrong. It's not just...
It's merely electrons moving. It's motion of matter. The energy to produce the electromagnetic, you see, you get electromagnetic energy. Up until now, all this stuff's been wideband energy. From whenever you hit it, you get X-rays, cosmic rays, all these things, and the neutrinos, they're kinetic energy. That's something else. All this wideband, you get low frequency noise, sub 1 hertz.
Well, what I would recommend you do, if you're really interested, and I want to take these people's time, I'll publish the book. I challenge you, I challenge anyone else, anybody, anytime, anywhere, to take that book. Now, if you want to debate with it, write it and put your name to it, and I'll show that you're ignorant. Yes. Okay, let me repeat the question so that they don't know what you said, please. The question was, I wish to change the patent office as well as push this invention forward so that the laws will be changed so it'll help young people. The question is, have I a solution as to what do I propose that this would take place to better enhance the young people having an opportunity to be creative?
What is the criteria that you established for the patent office to issue patents?
Okay, what is the criteria that I have offered for the patent office to issue patents? Okay, the major criteria is that they follow the known patent laws, but in addition to that, that these people, what I have seen from my own personal observation, fraternize with one another. The examiners fraternize with their supervisors. The supervisors fraternize with the group supervisors. Now, these people are supposed to be in charge if you have a discussion between an applicant and an inventor. They're supposed to decide who is right and who is wrong. Now, I have personally seen this. Even when a man told me that I'll find you guilty no matter what you do, they said, no, we won't give you another examiner. You got to keep this examiner. Clearly a violation of the law. The basis of it is that I calculate that all group supervisors should be on a separate floor. They should have to sign papers that they do no fraternization with the supervisor. The question was my work correlated to Wilhelm Wright, or who? Or a man named Hubbard. My answer was I wasn't familiar with those men's work, so I couldn't comment objectively. So it had me at a disadvantage. I said, let me catch this gentleman over here first, please. The test data that we're now having, the question was, how large of a machine would it take to power a home, and how much would it cost? The test data that we're now having indicates a device as small as this unit here, properly insulated, with the proper voltage, somewhere between 15 and 20,000 volts placed to it, would run a home. Such a device would probably cost somewhere in the vicinity, by the time it's sold through a distributor and etc. Maybe it's around $3,000. I have no doubt that this technology will be like all other technologies. Now to do that, you simply insulate the device so you can put the voltage to it, because it's how fast your eye can see. All of these lights are cycling at 60 times a second, but your eyes can't see that. So it's just a matter of stepping up the voltage. It's just mechanics. Let's see, let me go out and stand over. No, I haven't used it in my house. The purpose of this invention was to show the technical process is true. The technical process is what is by far more important. Now, nobody else hasn't really done anything with this. I have solved the problem that was pushing it. Now it's ready to go to production. Not 10 years from now, not 5 years from now, but right now. And it will. I'll be building another device. Let me catch the gentleman behind you.
Mr. Newman, I'm a mechanical and electrical engineer of the old school. You know the formula P in is equal to P out.
Okay.
Okay, you got E and I on one side, you got E and I on the other side. This particular machine you have there, what is the EI on the input side, and what is the EI on the output side?
Okay, that you're putting power in on this unit right now. The question was, what is the power in into this system, and what is the power out? We're putting in somewhere anywhere from 25 to 28 watts. It just varies depending on how you have to look it up. The power output is probably in the vicinity close to about 1,400% efficient. I say, I'm asking you just a second. We get out of the news media. Now, there's a lot of other people, and I care about everybody. I'm sorry, but I care about everybody. There's a lot of other people out there that would like to have an opportunity at least to walk through here. If there's some other news person who needs it.
Instantaneous out, that instantaneous out is constant going in.
No, it's not constant going in.
It's not constant.
No.
So you got one on coming in, and you got 14 going out. Roughly 7 to 1. You got right now.
14 to 1.
14 to 1.
Yeah. Okay, I really can't go in further discussion on that. The invention is going to speak for itself.
All right, those people, please, who are attending here, make way for the people out in the hallway. And Mr. Newman will be available now, immediately after this, for interviews with the media directly in photograph. Thank you all for coming.
Probably Scotland.